It's rotating.
This is part 2 of the video where we really start to dig into a lot of the meat and bones of the story. I'm gonna talk to you about the man, the myth, the person who started all of this alien-like conspiracy, at least related to Area 51, quote unquote. That man is known as Bob Lazar. Now, for those of you that don't know and have no idea who this man is, never heard the name before, Bob Lazar is an icon in the UFO conspiracy groups and the UFO kind of scene in general, for he's known as the man who claims to have worked in Area S4, which is associated to Area 51, and is said to have seen aircraft / alien-like spaceships. A lot of you will have known him for being on the Joe Rogan podcast. I also learned about him from the podcast, if I'm being completely honest. But Bob Lazar has actually had a long history of talking about alien aircrafts, aliens in general, and just the whole surroundings of Area 51, Area S4, the government, and the Tic Tac aircrafts as he calls them, which is the aircraft that he claims can distort gravity in order to propel itself. So to start, we have to take you way back to 1989, when Bob was in his 20s. Bob was known as the man who had managed to put a jet engine on a small Toyota car and was now driving it to work. This was back when he worked in Los Alamos' National Laboratory in New Mexico. And he was quickly getting spots in the newspaper and really just overall becoming a bit of a spotlight person, for nobody had seen that, especially not at the time. He later got fired from the job at Los Alamos, and he started looking for other job opportunities where he would eventually receive a notice of a position in Area S4, quote unquote, which is known to be a little like Area 51, but a lot more secretive and a lot more high security. He claims that that's where they kept a lot of the alien aircrafts and a lot of alien technology in general, unlike Area 51. In that facility, Bob would start working on what he describes to be small alien-like craft who were using some form of advanced technology that nobody really knew about and had never been seen before. He described the crafts as little ships that seemed to hold much smaller beings, which he would assume to be anywhere from 3 foot tall, very small in comparison to a human being. He also claimed that they didn't have any real control boards, there didn't seem to be any buttons that they would press, so the method of propelling itself was very different from what you would see in a typical airplane.
What Commander Fravor saw as he was in the F-18 approaching it, he described it as a ping pong ball in a cup and shaking it back and forth. It was moving that fast. Well, one of two things. Either there's a gravitational envelope in there which negates any inertia effects, or you are seeing through a gravity distortion field. So, just like you're looking at a hot highway and you see,
Looks like
an
water.
optical distortion going through there. Well, the same thing happens in gravity, and the craft may not actually be moving like that. It may just look like it because you can only see it through the field. So it may be making much more gentle moves. I'm not saying that's it, but it has to be one of the two.
Lazar claimed that the people in charge had these crafts for quite a long time, some saying that they were from archaeological digs, which would make them millions of years old, if it is in fact true. Lazar said that the facility was surrounded by military. Most people probably wouldn't know where to look for it, as a lot of the average person would assume Area 51 would be the place where they keep their quote-unquote alien stuff. After working at the facility for a few months, Bob's hiding away the activity that he was doing made his wife a little bit suspicious that maybe he was having an affair while he was gone. So she started having an affair on her own, and later on the facility warned Bob that he couldn't work there anymore, for they wanted everyone working on the projects to have good outside lives without any drama or issues, because they felt like it would help, and so they restricted him from continuing to work because his wife was having an affair that they found out as they would tap their phones to make sure that they weren't spreading information. This made Bob really upset, and he decided that he was going to tell the world about what he had seen in Area S4, starting with mainly his friends. He told his friends a lot of information he knew about the facility, as well as brought them to the area to see for themselves, as he claims that they would often try and fly these aircrafts in that area to try and figure out how these things were flying. They had managed to find out the mechanisms to start them and fly them through the airs, but they still couldn't figure out how they were made or where they had come from. There were theories, he said, of it coming from Zeta Reticuli or Zeta Reticuli. I'm not sure how you say it. He would get caught as well, and that would basically start this whole goose chase after him where he claims that the government started really trying to take him out. He's been going public with the same story ever since 1989, and it is important to note that while a lot of people indeed believe that it was a hoax, his story has never really changed. He's been really consistent with keeping his story kind of the same, which is something that is really hard to do if you're lying. And of course, investigating deeper into all of his UFO stories reveal a lot about these so-called extraterrestrials, in the sense that he claims that they were using element 115 to propel these tiny little tic-tac UFOs, which is what they call them, basically allowing them to distort gravity in a way that would allow the vehicle to be pushed throughout the skies at the high speeds that would be impossible for people like us to replicate. Now, it's important to note that at the time, element 115 did not exist. It wasn't an element in the periodic table at all. But in 2013, they did finally stabilize and discover element 115 in Moscow, Russia, and it is now known as Moscovium. This is a synthetic element. It does not exist on Earth per se. It is highly radioactive, and as of 2013, it is in fact an element you can find on the periodic table. But he has been claiming that element 115 had been a thing in these so-called spacecrafts since 1989 that he at least knows of, if not before. So it is important, again, to note this little parentheses here. There actually have been videos of said tic-tac aircrafts or airship, and it's actually kind of funny because, as I mentioned in my previous video on my Instagram, flashback, whatever, but it said that basically the government had been working supposedly on not only just UFO activities, but Skinwalker Ranch, which I mentioned in my last video. Skinwalker Ranch had started to be investigated by the government, and mainly the Pentagon. However, they claimed that this was never a thing at the time. But again, the New York Post made a whole article detailing how they had been not only working on the Skinwalker Ranch, but also on overall alien activity, and they had actually found video footage of these tic-tac aircraft, which is what they call them, as they're so small and so fast that they pretty much travel at lightning speed. So the Pentagon actually did confirm that these videos are in fact real. These were in fact videos they had since 2004 or 2005. And it is claimed that they have a lot more of those. So we'll never really know unless the aliens show up and literally start attacking the White House. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more from me, make sure you follow me on Twitch. I do a lot of gaming. I will be playing a lot more often on there. I know I haven't been on my Twitch in a minute, but I will be getting back into it. So make sure you follow me on there if you want to see some gaming from me. And if you would like to see some of my art, or you would like to commission me for some things, I am in fact an artist, you can follow me on my Instagram, where I post a lot of art and a lot of just overall behind the scenes of my videos and things like that. So if you're interested in that, make sure you follow me on Instagram. But until then, I will be seeing you guys in the next video.